Hello there, guys and girls. Kyubashi here with a look at the patch of 6.85. Like I promised, I would look into it, and it's just been about 20 minutes before, since the patch notes hit us. So I've gone through it very briefly. There's a lot of changes to talk about, so I want to give you my thoughts into this. Take it for what it is. Take it to heart. Take it with a grain of salt. But these are my thoughts. If you agree, that's what it is. If you don't, that's fine as well. But these are my own thoughts into the changes and what I think it will do for the different heroes. So the way I'm going to go over it is I'll explain in detail what I think it'll do in pub. I'm not going to bring in the competitive meta because it can be so different, and I'm more adjusted to the public area in this time of day, admittedly. So let's dive right into it, shall we? First of all, Purge no longer deals bonus damage to summoned units. Very big deal. Very big deal. You just have to know how Diffusal Blade works in that interaction. Siege creeps now behave like normal creeps from spell targeting rules. Interesting. They now have 80% magic resistance, which has been changed. These are just general things. They're not very important. The juiciest parts come down here, really. Ancient Thunderhide has a new ability. Ward Drum's Aura provides 15 plus attack speed and 15% attack damage. That's pretty insane. And obviously this really, this is for Chen. It makes sense. But these Ancient Creeps having better auras now is way better. Ancient Blackdrake has a new ability. Dragonite Aura provides 2 plus armor. Stackable. That's good. Ancient Dragonite camp units now have 2 less armor, means it's easy to farm, or easier rather now. Pick the following passive abilities not being disabled by Break. Nether Toxin, Tidebringer, Essence Aura, Hunter in the Night, Poison Sting, Neutral ability passive. Makes sense, nothing too big there really. Let's go into the juicy stuff that you all want to see, or want my prediction on, or my thoughts on anyway. First we have Abaddon, Mistcoil cooldown reduced from 4.5 to 4.5. Not bad, it's just half a second, but it is what it is. However, Borutai Magnum Scepter damage redirection, sorry for my English, increased from 35% to 50%. That's quite a huge deal. Now, it's honestly hard to tell where this is going to go, because Abaddon has always been kind of in a weird spot in public, but this has definitely potential. This is one of the changes that's hard to predict, because 15% is a lot, and having 50% damage redirection, sorry, that word, is quite amazing, but we'll have to see. This is one where you either just have to experiment, or you'll realize soon enough if Abaddon really benefits from this. Alchemist, Acid Spray damage increased from 12, 16, 20, 24 to 15, 20, 25, 30. Standard, he needed something better for lane. Green's Bounty Rune, bonus increased from 4 to 5. Honestly, I don't think this is enough to make Alchemist viable. I mean, the rune thing is nice. Sure, he's going to get a ton of gold if he actually gets it. But all in all, this is not enough to make Alchemist good. I still think he'll be terrible, especially with the buff other heroes will receive. So, Alchemist, out the window in my eyes, at least. Ancient Apparition, Cold Feet cast range increased from 700 to 700, 800, 900, and 1000. This is very good, because Cold Feet was kind of an odd spell for Ancient Apparition. It was good, but the 700 range could be very, I imagine most people will still go for his bonus damage, honestly. But at least the added range is good, so it's something. And it's not like Ancient Apparition has ever really been bad. His ultimate is really, really strong in public as it is. So this is quite a nice change. It's a buff regardless, no matter how you look at it. Anti-Mage. Blink distance rescaled from 1000, 1075, 1150, 1150. Oh, I actually didn't even see that the first time. 3/4, the same thing, to 925, 1000, 1075, 1150. I probably should stop mentioning the numbers. You can just read those. So let's stop that from here on out. Mana Void Stun rescaled from, I just did that, oh well. 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, and to 0.15. That doesn't really mean too much. So basically this is more of a nerf to Anti-Mage than it is a buff, honestly. The Mana Void thing is very nice, but the blink distance just means he's less useful. It ultimately ends up in the same, so it's a nerf, but it's kind of like, Anti-Mage gets levels anyway, so why does it matter too much? It's just his early game that's slightly nerfed for blink. It also, of course, depends on what kind of build you employ with Anti-Mage, with stats and, whether or not you take blink quickly, but let that be that. It is a nerf, but a small one. I will do 10 to 8 for an example, but not this. Okay. Enfeeble cooldown reduced from 10 to 8. Good. Brainsap mana cost reduced from 2. Pretty good. Quite a nice buff, especially at level 1 and 3. Bane had mana issues in the beginning. he does not have those as much anymore. This quite help him, and he was already a pretty decent hero as well, if you ask me. Fixed Fiend's Creep, sometimes not granting true sight over this target properly. That's just a bug. So that's just a bug fix. So slight buff to Bane. The Brain Sap thing is really, really good. This just makes something like a Ring of Sacrifice. I can never say a Sacrificial Ring better on him, because it just costs less mana now. This is actually really, really good for lane harass. It's actually pretty amazing, because Brain Sap cooldown is very short, so Jesus. And remember that this is pure. Brain Sap is pure damage, so having a pure damage for that little mana right there, that's dangerous. Batrider, flame break damage over time reduced from 50 per second to respectfully. This is a weird change, but it makes sense when you add this. That flame break duration increased from 1 to this. So it basically stays on longer, but it's a very weird change. And I don't feel like this is what he needed either. It feels like they're trying to tinker with Batrider. So flame break basically lasts longer, so it adds up to more, but it's very weird. It could potentially make his foresting better, but we'll see with Batrider. His Aghanim's is very interesting. His Magnum Scepter, great flaming lasso grabs his target as well as his target nearest allied hero within 400 range. The secondary target is tethered to the first, also causes lasso deal 100 damage per second. Damage is kind of insignificant, but taking the allied hero is kind of interesting within 400 range. That could severely mess up a team fight for the enemy, but it could also make it worse. So this is kind of a finicky thing. It's interesting, but I actually think the flame break duration, I don't give it credit enough, but I'm trying to do this kind of fast, and there's gonna be mistakes from my part. But it's literally 2 at night. I haven't had almost any sleep because I've been waiting for the notes. So mistakes will happen. Sorry if they do, or when they do, because they will do. Third scaling change from 100 to 25 to 75 to 25. Good. Third is now not as broken anymore. That's very good. He was benefiting too much. I actually thought there would be more nerfs, but let's see just how much this nerfs him. It might just be enough, because Bloodseeker's late game was never all that strong. It's just early game that was just stupid. And speaking of that, change from 25 to this, respectfully. The important thing about this, from 25 to 19, 21, 23, 25, is that it was the level 1 that was the issue. You'd see Bloodseekers go for full passive, 1 in Blood Rage, and just Blood Right, because you didn't really need anymore. Because of the heal. It was just because of the heal. Like, you would get more bonus damage, but there you go. So now they're basically edging you more towards getting Q. And what this means is that if you don't do it, then you will not heal as much in lane, which makes them easier to kill. So very nice change. I actually quite like this. Again, not as many nerfs as I thought, but so be it. Bounty Hunter. Also, this video will be quite long. I just realized at the pace I'm going. But that's quite fine. Track now provides vision only to the target rather than the area around it. Thank you. Necessary. He got way too much intel. What this means is that he can't just randomly track everyone besides that target. It means you basically don't have to be afraid of walking beside someone that's tracked. That's really good, because Bounty got way too much information as it was. Track allied bonus goal reduced from this to this. Good. What can I say? I thought they would reduce his own earned goal, but that really remains the same. But that's good. Sizable buffs. I still think he'll be decent, but that definitely takes him down a notch. Very good, especially the above one, because the issue you would see in pubs is that bounty hunters would just abuse this so heavily much. Now you actually have to see everyone, so you either need a ward, and then it becomes way easier to see for your enemies to realize it, or you need an ally either doing some kind of vision so you can actually track them. So that's quite a sizable nerf, actually. Burmaster, one of my favorites. Primal Split, Storm, Dispel Magic, increased from 200 to 600. That's actually quite big. That's really, really big, because 200 was very low, and it has a cast time as well on the Wind Panda, so this is very good. You can actually do really big plays with this now, other than just taking your tornado down. That's really cool. I quite like it. Primal Split duration, Dispel Magic cooldown from 8 to 6. Also cool. Less cooldown. It means, as a former Brewmaster player at least, you have to be quicker at rotating around with them. You kind of get used to what these cooldowns used to be before, so now you have to be a bit quicker, but that's not a bad thing. He's just been buffed. Primal Split's Earth Horror Boulder cooldown reduced from 7 to 5. Also good. You can stun What is it? You will probably be able to stun like a total of 4 times now then? It's bad. I can't remember the actual math on a level 16 Burmaster ult. That should be it. Maybe even 3 times at level 6. It's good regardless. Having Boulder be that fast means you can utilize it more and you can check around on targets more. It's hard to tell if this is going to be what brings Brewmaster back, but it's interesting. Because what made him worse in 6.84 was also the heroes that were really, really good as initiators. And of course, him having to go mid was kind of hard with the meta heroes. Bristleback passive Quill Spray, damage threshold reduced from 250 to 230. Not too much. A little bit of a buff. Just a little bit of a buff for him to do more Quill Sprays with the damage threshold. That really is not a whole lot. I still think Bristle was in a decent light, so that's that. Centaur Warner returned strength as bonus damage from this to this. Now, to be fair, the first levels don't really mean that much. It's kind of nice, but what is insane to think about is 66%. That is a lot, ladies and gentlemen. If you have a Centaur Warrunner with 1 heart or 2 hearts, remember we are taking into public counts here. That's a lot of freaking damage. Think about how quickly a Centaur with 66% of his base strength takes down 2 structures, pounding away at him. And by 2 structures, I obviously mean the tier 4 towers. That's really quick. He's actually going to be scary now with this spell. A good buff to him, really. That's very interesting. It's not, as I said, not going to do too much in the beginning, but apart from that, late game, this is going to be a much better spell. Sorry, let me just catch my breath. I'm talking too fast. Whew! I'm really excited. I hope you guys are as well. As I said, the patch note just came out, so I'm as thrilled as you guys if you see it early or late, depending. Chaos Knight. Chaos Strike now lowers the target's armor by 5 for 8 seconds whenever it crits. Applies before the damage happens, like Desolator can be applied by illusions, but multiple instances do not stack. Only triggers when triggers. This is basically a guaranteed almost Desolator, because you're never not going to crit if you have a decent amount of illusions, plus you always go Manta and Chaos Knight. This is actually insane, and to compensate for this, they reduce the overall damage you get from critical strike, but you know what? That still makes the hero better in my eyes. Reducing a target's armor by 5, especially in a late game scenario, you will not pound out as much damage, but the minus armor that you'll apply to the target and the fact that you have so many illusions hitting on it, and one of them is bound to crit, you just can't be that unlucky, will overly increase the damage on someone. This is actually a very interesting change, and it might just change Chaos Knight. Hard to tell, but this is actually scary. Holy crap. Chen. Penitence. Slow damage implication increased from 2. Just a slight buff, nothing much. A little bit to Chen. Test of Faith damage mana cost reduced from 175 to a lot less. That's actually big for Chen right there. And the cooldown reduced from 24 to 16. Good buffs for Chen. On top of that, now I'm not going to scroll all the way up, but you remember the buffs on the Ancient Creeps? Yeah, so that's a total of, I believe that was like 2 buffs up there. So that's like 5 buffs to Chen. Good. He's going to be pretty decent if you can play him now, especially because you're probably also going to see less of Bounty Hunter, which immediately makes Chen better. So expect to see Chens. Totally. Clinks. Straight cooldown reduced from 45, 40, 35, 30 to 40, 35, 30, 25. I said I would stop that, but I forgot it. Just a small strafe cooldown. Kind of cool. Kind of cute. It means little. It's a buff, obviously, but Clinks was already strong, so it's just a small buff to an already decent hero. Crystal Nova cooldown reduced from 15 to 13. Crystal Maiden. Not bad. Means you can harass more with it. It's nice. It's a buff. At least she didn't get nerfed. Dark Tier. Base intelligence reduced by 2. Well, there you go. That really doesn't matter too much. He already has very high intelligence. Dark Tier hopefully remains the same hero at heart. Slightly less mana to spam Iron Chill with. Also, sorry if my lips make like a smacking sound. I'm trying to talk very fast. Dazzle. Poison Touch. Mana cost reduced from 100 just to static 100. That's really, really good. That means he has more, mana to spam. But this really depends, because a lot of Dazzle players actually don't do this. They go for Healing Wave instead. Maybe this changes their mind. It depends, but it's an option now. And again, remember, we take the perspective of... I actually have a water bottle I should probably drink. We take the perspective of public games here, so, more people are prone to going Poison Judge than Healing most of the time. Trust me on that one. Let me just... Sorry. Let's continue. Still a long way to go, people. Death Prophet. Exorcism spirits increased from this to this. So more spirits. Ultimately, she is the same here. So I don't think it's too much of a buff to her. It is early stages, but I hardly can imagine she's considered god tier now. But it's a buff. It's a buff. But we'll see. It really also depends on how she does against her peers on mid. Disruptor. Thunderstrike cooldown reduced from 16 to... Yes, this. Very low on 9 there, but most people don't take Thunderstrike anyway, so it's kind of like because most people max Glimpse for the range, and understandably so. It makes it impossible to lane against him if he has a kill, dual or tri-lane. Thunderstrike not only provides vision over the target itself, that's actually a little bit of a bummer. I actually feel like this is a nerf to the hero, even if it's meant as a buff. I know this sounds weird. This is a buff, but this didn't mean too much, I guess, but it meant you could actually Thunderstrike and then you could glimpse someone else. But it's like a buff and a nerf disguised, but who would do this anyway? Most people that know how to play Disruptor will max Glimpse, honestly. Glimpse is too good to almost not get early. But I guess, you know, it's a buff in this and it's a nerf in this. So 50-50. Doom. Scorched Earth damage shield increased from this to this. Quite a bit. Quite a bit. I still don't think that makes the hero viable, or rather viable and viable, but it doesn't make him the top of the pop like he used to be, let's put it like that. Level question mark, that's cooldown reduced from 8 to 7. It's a buff, what can I say? It doesn't mean too much though. Dragonite, breathe fire, debuff duration from 8 to 11 seconds. That's quite good. It's a little buff, and he's already strong. I actually feel like Dragonite was one of the strong heroes that were hidden in 6.84. It's just because of Lysrak and other mid heroes just dominating him mid. So this hero has been buffed more than you think, just because a lot of the heroes that used to be crazy strong at 6.84 has been nerfed. So look out for this guy, I'm telling you. Drowinger, precision aura damage increased from this to this. A little bit of increase, not much. Precision aura cooldown reduced from 120 to 100. Drow instantly becomes better when there's more ranged heroes that benefit from having her. But it also depends on how many ranged supports are strong. And it really depends on what other carries are going to be like. And having read these patch notes before doing this video, I can tell you of a certain hero that might cause her problems. But let's not dwell on that. It is a buff. It's nice. She got something now at least. She'll still have problems facing other carriers probably, but let's see. Earthshaker, Fissure damage reduced from this to this. Not a whole lot. Actually surprised this is the only nerf he gets. Earthshaker is still god tier if you ask me. He has way too long range on it. His cast point is amazing. His turn point is amazing. He's just a really good hero right now. He... Excuse me. He's one of the really good heroes that was not nerfed enough if you ask me, but probably next patch. So expect to still see a lot of Earthshaker. Earth Spirit, Storm Remnant is now placed in front of you when double clicking. Woohoo. He remains Earth Spirit, not a whole lot. He was already nerfed a bit. If you can play him really well like Jirax or someone, he's still an amazing hero, sure. But we'll see. Until this guy comes in Captain's mode, I don't even know what to say. I don't think they ever dare to do it. It's kind of a joke at this point. Elder Titan, hero I actually predicted would be good this patch. Let's look into it. Echo Stomp area of effect increased from 475 to 500. A little bit of an increase, not much, but it makes the Echo Stomp harder to get out of, which is really good. Ancestral Spirit mana cost rescaled from 110 to following this. This is actually really strong because one of the things Elder Titan struggles with is his early mana problems, and this remedies that. It makes Ancestral Spirit so much better for an offlane Elder Titan. But what is better, because it couples with this, attack damage per creep increased from 3, 6, 9, 12 to this. That is quite good. They basically buff 3 on everyone, and that's really, really, really good. He can use this to be offensive. I still ponder how he's going to be as an offlaner. He could technically be a more powerful support-ish kind of hero now. Heck, he could maybe even do a mid with some kind of crazy build. This is a lot of damage. The problem with this is that if you do this as support, you basically push the lane to get creeps. But if you do this as an offlaner, it actually benefits you because you just want something out of it usually. But the problem with this, if you can't survive, then, you know, what's the point? But it is a buff. It's nice to see Elder Titan getting buffed. That Laura sticky duration increased from 0.5 to 1. What this means is basically that Natural Order, his passive, would stick for very brief amount of times from both his Ancestral Spirit and himself, and it's just been increased by 0.5 seconds, so half a second. Not much, but it's a buff, you know. Enchanters, Nature's Attendance Wisp count increased from this to this. Oh no, she heals faster. She already healed fast enough, so that's something. Now, Impetus is no longer a unique attack modifier. Hello, seeing all these unique builds with Desolator and stuff. This is going to be interesting. I would almost expect Flasher to make a video about this and update his Enchanter's Guide. Kind of funny. It's hard for me to think that this is going to make her viable as such, but you could make some crazy stuff happen for sure. Let's see. This could be interesting. But they've done with this other heroes in the past, so let's see. It's interesting. Enigma, Midnight Pulse cast time reduced from 0.2 to 0.1. A very slight buff on Midnight Pulse, but to compensate, the area has been reduced by 50. Sucks. But on the upside, his black hole has been increased by 20. So kind of like a hit and miss with him with both nerfs and buffs, but both seem pretty decent. It's still Enigma, he's still strong, and other initiators have been nerfed a little bit now. While Barrage damage per rocket increased from this to this, and you can see the exact damage scaling if I hover over here. So 30 on each level, it would seem, which is quite nice. It just means Gyre is slightly less strong in lane, which is fair. Cooldown flow no longer pierces physical spell immunity, not physical immunity. Thank you. That was also incredibly unnecessary. So he now becomes a lot less strong against carries with a BKB on them. Good. This needed to happen. Haas Guard, the hero everyone told me would not get nerfed, that suddenly got nerfed. Berserker's Blood magic resistance per stack reduced from 4, 5, 6, 7 to 3, 4, 4, 5, 6. It's still really strong. It's still really, really strong, but it's less strong, which is quite good. But the thing about Haas Guard is not so much that this ability is so weird, because at any point in time where the meta revolves around magic heroes like we just had in 6.84, he's just instantly insane. But in patches where something like Void or PA or something becomes the meta, then he instantly becomes a lot less good because he can't deal with it. Or CK can really mess him up. But it is a nerf. I expected this. It makes total freaking sense, so it is there. Invoker, intelligence growth increased from 3.2 to 4.0. Holy shit. That is good. That is a really good buff to Invoker. I think Invoker is going to be insane now. Alacrity speed from 20 to 80 to 30 to 90. Good, just 10 more in total level, so that's nice. Magnum Scepter now adds 1 level of the stats provided by Coswex and Exhort on all invoked spells. That is just even more of a reason to go Aghanims. It was kind of... Now, I don't play Invoker respectfully. I don't want to say I do, because he's like one of the few heroes I really don't touch at all. But a lot of Invokers for asking whether or not it's actually good to go Aghanims or not. At least this gives more of a reason to do it. And especially now he really seems to be buffed a bit. Max level Deafening Blast now retains his normal location targeting UI. That's just what it is. But buffs to Invoker, and we're probably going to see a bit more Aghanims on him now. Now that Lysrak has been nerfed and stuff, he's probably going to be really, really good mid. Looking at that intelligent growth, that is really big. That's almost an intelligence more for every level he gets. You have to imagine that's almost like a stick. Of course, it's not strength and agility, but it's almost a stick worth of intelligence every level. That is insane for Invoker. I predict Invoker's going to be pretty close to God tier with that. That is going to be interesting. So if you're good with Invoker, rejoice. But then again, you guys deserve it if you put your time in with this hero, honestly. I think so, at least. Jakiro, Dual Breast Fury Wave now moves the same speed as Icy Wave. 850 to 1050. That just means that if you knew Jakiro's animation before, it would like slightly shoot out the one faster than before. They just come out at the same speed, so it's just better. Dual Breast damage increased from 16 to this. So it's been increased very, very slightly. Ice Pen range increased from 100. Minor buffs to Jakiro, but nice. Excuse me, I feel like I have something in my throat. Very minor buffs, but he is slightly better regardless. He actually feels like a lot better off a harasser now with this. It will be way easier to get this off. Dragonite, Blade Fury damage increased from 80, 100, 120, 140 to this. Minor buff. Hardly anything though, because normally you wouldn't max Blade Fury anyway, but It's a buff regardless. Let's look away from it. Keep of the Light. Chakra Magic spell cooldown increased from... Reduction increased from 1, 2, 3, 4 to 3, 4, 5. That's really good. That's also interesting because Keeper of Light was already in a really good position competitively, and now they buff him. I would say that he wasn't so good in public just because people don't really play him correctly. You could like do some really weird shit that was just strong, but regardless, it's a buff. So more buff to Keeper of Light, I guess. He's still going to be strong competitive. Kunkka, Typebringer damage increased from this to this. Good. I feel like it's only fair Kunkka gets buffs. He deserves it. Tiny buffs to his Typebringer. That makes him slightly stronger in lane. X-Mark's podcast range rescaled, so it's now better early game, which is good. And the cooldown has been rescaled as well, so it's way sooner at late game. His Ghost Ship cast point has been lowered by 0.1 second. Sorry, Jesus. There are buffs to Kunkka. Not too major. I don't think it makes him any like sort of mega threat, but again, a lot of heroes have been nerfed. So those who are good with Kunkka can definitely see their power with him increase now. Base damage increased by 4. That's actually big. That's bigger than you might know. The same thing happened to Flark, and suddenly that patch, he just became insane. Anyway, it's going to make her way better as an offlaner because she's not going to have an easier time last hitting / harassing if you play her like that. You could also play her forest. I wouldn't suggest it. You could also play a safe lane or mid. Heck. But this is nice. Overwhelming odds cooldown from 18 to 15. 3 seconds, pretty good, because you spam overwhelming odds usually if you're offlane, for an example. It's your way of dealing with others. Press attack, cast time reduced from 0.2 to 0.03.3 to 0.2. Damn, I'm starting to fumble a lot. Good, makes it easier to jump in and do it if you want. That's quite nice. Fixed leading commander, sometimes auto-seconded by units. Attack the dual target. That's just a bug, again. It's just a bug fix. There's several heroes that have been having that. Let's rack. Base damage reduced by 4. Thank you, necessary energy pony. He was too strong there. Lightning storm jump distance reduced from 650 to 475. Good, it was too far. Lightning storm damage reduced from, I'm gonna just say this because it's less rack. 80, 140, 200, 260 to 50, 100, 150, 200. This is really good. That's a lot of damage reduction, and you know what? He freaking deserved it, and it was way too strong. That's so good. Because this means he can't dominate mid the same way anymore. That's basically what they're going for. And that's good because now you can't easily take him mid and win anymore. That is so important. On top of that, spoiler alert, Bloodstone has also been nerfed, which also hits him hard. But let's continue. Lich sacrifice only splits XP with an enemy. Splits XP with enemies. That's actually really good. Chain Frost projectile speed increased from 750 to 850. Also good. Makes it better to in a team fight, really. Chain Frost attack speed slow increased from 20 to 30. Now matches most speed slow. Yep, it's a buff. Small buffs to Lich. He's kind of like this kind of odd hero where sometimes he's just good in certain patches and sometimes he's not good. I feel Lich is one of the heroes where it doesn't matter how they buff him almost. It just is the meta that determines whether or not he's good. Because there are some metas where him sacrificing XP and pushing the lane is just not a good idea. But we'll see. It's hard for me to determine where this meta is going to go, but we'll see. Because there's been no... I can already spoil that. There's been no gold comeback chains, so I think the meta is somewhat going to be the same, but with carry heroes having more of a say, it would seem so. So a lot of team fighting still, but again, let's see. Rage cooldown reduced from 19 to 16. Lifestealer, Infest and Control can now be used on Ancient Creeps. He's still dog shit. I'm sorry. That is very harsh. But this hero is just, no. He is still left behind like crazy. He's poor Lifestealer is all I can say. This is not enough. He's just been left behind. If Lifestealer becomes viable in public, I don't know what I'll do. I'll dance on my own stream or something. This is not good enough. Oh well, no need to be afraid of Lifestealer, I don't think. Lina, Light Strike Array damage reduced from this to this. Good. Did a little bit too much damage. Laguna Blade damage reduced from this to this. Actually, not as much has changed on Lina. I still think she'll be very viable, and especially as a support. So if people stop playing Lina mid, then you'll definitely still see her as a support, because this is not enough of a nerf, if you ask me. It's more of a nerf than Earthshaker received, but at the same time, I don't feel like this is enough. But we'll find out, won't we? Lion, Finger of Death, Magnum Scepter upgrade, area of effect increase from 200 to 300. Interesting. It was still already a weird Aghanims, but it's been increased by 100, so take it to heart. Lone Druid, Summon Spirit Bear, cooldown reduced from this to static 120. Good. This was one of the cruxes of playing Lone Druid. If you somehow lost the bear, just don't ask me how, but if you lost the bear, especially in a later game, in a later scenario where people actually headhunting you, then getting it back could be really bad. So this is kind of nice. It's still a buff. But what's more interesting is Battle Cry bonus damage increased from 60, 90, 120 to this. Slightly a little bit more damage, which is actually really good. This is very interesting. This is a lot of damage, and to pair it off, we get 4 more armor on every charge. Oh, sorry, that's 4 in the beginning, and then 3, and then 2. That's quite good. More armor, more damage. That could actually make up for his shortcomings, honestly. Very interesting. It's hard to tell, because Lone Druid, as we know, was not good in 6.84. But again, it would take a good Lone Druid player like Admiral Bulldor, for example, to really make him shine. This doesn't look like amazing to me, but if you can play him, he's definitely a buff, no matter how you look at it. But let a good player with Lone Druid determine exactly how much you can do with it. Luna, strength gain increased from 1.9 to 2.2. Not a lot, but it's something. She has slightly more strength when she levels. That's good. She needed something for team fighting. She has such a low range. Eclipse cooldown reduced from this to this, static. It's nice. She has more often her ultimate. It's good for team fights again. Eclipse Magnum Scepter beam count increased from this to this. Higher beam count, especially at the last one, at level 3. Not too much change. The strength is nice. Whether or not Luna becomes viable really depends on other carries, honestly. Luna is good by her own merits, I think, but it really depends on how well she does against other carries that are in the patch. Lycan, give me a second. Talking so fast that my throat is getting torn up. Strength gain increased from 2.75 to 3, so very low strength gain. That's incredibly low. That's actually really funny. Well, it's closer now. It's slightly bigger strength gain. Shift aim, ship shift. Are you hearing me? Shapeshift critical strike chance increased from 30 to 30, 35, 40. And that's good. That's a buff to Lycan. It's I wouldn't say that's quote unquote what he needs, but it's a buff no matter how you look at it. I did kind of predict Lycan would get nerfed just because he was in a bad situation priorly. Well, slightly better. I still doubt that without him being able to jungle, you're going to see him a lot in public games anyway. But you might see some pros do something twisted with him. Empower cooldown reduced from 12 to 8. I did not expect that. Sorry, again. Jesus, it's late at night. Apparently a lot of particles in the air. I did not expect Magnus to get buffed because he was already really strong last patch, but this makes him able to spam Empower even more than before. This is actually quite insane. You can keep Empower up on way more people now, way faster. This is really big. Magnus just became a way better hero just because of 4 seconds. Trust me, this means a lot as a Magnus player. So rejoice if you play Magnus. Medusa, Mystic Snake damage and Mana Steel boost per jump increase from 25 to 35. It's nice. It's good for winning you the lane, but any carry Medusa will not usually do this. I'll go for stats and the split shot build. I guess it's better for mid, or rather it is better for mid. It's a buff, so, but it doesn't really do a whole lot for carry Medusa, but it's interesting. It can definitely be abused more for mid. It's 10% more. Mirana, agility growth increased from 2.75 to 3.3. This is actually quite good, and it's something Mirana needed. I've used to play Mirana a lot, and time again I've said that I feel Mirana is in a really bad spot because her starting agility is awful, her starting damage is just not good, and her spread is, I think it's akin to 11 or 12. It's way too high. So her acquiring more consistent damage now is good. I still don't think this is actually enough, but it's a start. Starstorm secondary strike search radius increased by 100. That's good. That makes Starstorm better than before. Arrow's still not buffed in any shape or form, but it's a buff. She becomes stronger with levels, and the Q build makes even more sense. By Q, I mean the Starfall build, of course, not me. Morphling, agility growth increased from 3 to 3.4. That's nice. He gets extra agility, just like Lady up here. Adaptive strike damage rescaled. Now it does a little bit more damage early. Hybrid no longer hides Morphling or restricts its usage when a replicate is out. Interesting. This is with his Aghanims. Hybrids are visibly known to enemies. This will also happen to Terrorblade. It basically means that you'll know when a hybrid is a hybrid, so it's actually a nerf. But they're basically, it seems like they're trying to make him more of a hard carry again with this. Very interesting. Hard for me to tell where Morphling is gonna be, because Morphling's viability as a hero, a lot like other heroes, also comes down to how much mana steal is, or mana break, you know, is in a meta. So if Anti-Mage or Phantom Lancer is the norm, then Morphling usually will suffer as a result. While if they're not, then obviously he will soar a bit more. Naga Siren. Riptide damage rescaled from this to this. It's been made worse. Interesting. I'm actually surprised they nerfed her, but it's nerfed slightly. The armor reduction doesn't say anything, so I guess it just remains the same. Naga Siren, Magnum Scepter heal increased from 6 to 8. That just heals more. Basically trying to make her more of a support. I never liked Magnum Scepter heal on her. It's really strong, but I don't like the idea of Magnum Scepter, Naga Siren. But nerf and buff, but it depends. It's not too much of a nerf, but it's a bit sad to see Naga not getting a buff. Nature's Prophet. Sprout cast time reduced from 0.5 to 0.35. It's good. It makes it easier to sprout people. Sprout mana cost reduced from this to this. It now costs a lot less to do it, and Furin actually already has very high intelligence, so this is quite interesting. Means he can spam it more. Nature's Call Train's movement speed increased from 300 to 325. That's nice. It'll be easier to body block now by quite a significant amount. On top of that, some heroes do move very slow. Nature's Call Train's vision reduced from 1200 to 1000. Well, that's a little bit of a nerf. Greater Train's base attack time reduced from 1.75 to 1. Who cares? I'm sorry, but the Aghanim build was always weird on him. Unless we change into more of a pushing meta, these two really don't matter the way I look at it. But it's faster attack time. And Wrath of Nature Magnum Scepter now applies a 4-second buff if the unit is hit, which will spawn the extra treant if the unit dies during that time. That basically means that if you know how before it had to kill the unit, well, if it dies within 4 seconds, it now spawns the unit anyway. But I never really felt like this is good. It depends. If we come into a pushing meta where it's just balls to the walls, Necrobook everywhere, and Lycan and tower, and Jakiro breathing fire on towers, then this will be really good. But until then, I don't expect this to be good at all. So at one point, we're just going to get into a pushing meta, and Valve is going to forget all about this, and it's going to be extreme. But at the time, I can't imagine this being good. Necrophos. Death Pulse damage increased from this to this. This is actually scary. He has way more damage early game. That's annoying. He's going to be a better mid hero now. Harsabara no longer affects ancient creeps. It's just to stop people from... he actually got that buff just as well. It's just to stop people from ancient creeping. So, yeah, I mean, who did this anyway? You would have to be very bored in a pub. Status Hell Regan increased from 1, 2, 3, 4 to 1, 2, 3, 6. That's actually really, really good. That's very, very high Regan. Status Mana Regen increased from 2, 4, 6, 10 to this. This is actually really good. But I believe most people will max Death Pulse, but that's a very high health Regan. It's buffed to Necrophos, and I already felt he was strong, so I actually see a little bit of potential here. It's hard to tell still, though. Base heals Regan increased from 0.25 to 2. Sorry, it's really late. I wanted the video out though. That's a lot. That's 175 increase. That's so much. That's almost a free ring of health. That's actually scary, and you know why? Because the one thing Nightstalker lacks compared to something like Spirit Breaker is that he was tanky, but he didn't heal a lot. This is bigger than you might think. Be afraid. Be very afraid. He now just became a better roamer. Nyx Assassin. Bow Impel cooldown reduced from 9 to 7. This is just Aghanim's buff. Bow Impel and Mana Burn bonus range from 50 to 75. Jesus. Magnetic Rage increased from 25 to this. Oh, wow. Wow. I mean, this is good. Jeez. It's hard to say that this will make him viable, depending, but damn, that's a good buff. That is... that's a solid 15 more seconds at level 1. That means quite a bit. What is it? What is his alteration? I should remember this kind of stuff. It's not 50 either. It's like... Or is it? It might just be, I think it actually is 50. It means you can almost just spam the ultimate all the time. That's insane. You can remain invisible for so long. This is really good. Not gonna lie, this is a good buff to him. This is a good buff. And I do like Aghanims on this guy. Or I like the idea of it. I think it's really cool. So, very interesting. This might just make him a lot better because his if you know Nyx Assassin, his health regeneration, his armor on offlane, it's insane. The only problem is when he has to deal with against something like a Fisher. So look out. This actually, I might not be giving this credit enough. Ogre Magi. Base armor increased by 1. Simple. 1 more armor. More tanky. Bloodlust attack speed increased from this to this. Just more attack speed. That's pretty strong. Bloodlust can now be cast on towers. Sorry. I guess that just goes together with what Valve has been doing recently with buffing towers, like the Lich thing. That's interesting. You can make a tower steroid. Phoenix multicast Bloodlust not affecting nearby spell immune allies. Could already target them directly. That's actually very, very good of a change. Although it's like a buff change. It's buffs. Let's see where this goes with Ogre. Omni, purification cast point from this to this. That's nice. You can actually get it off a lot faster with that. This means quite a bit. This is actually pretty crazy. Dagon stickiness reduced from 2 to 1. That's a nerf because remember when I said it on Elder Titan? Sorry, my left ear kind of hurts. There's a sticky where if you're within the aura, but you leave the aura, there was a 2-second stick of how long it lasted on you. Now it's just 1 second. But I actually feel like he's better. Not kidding. 0.4 to 0.25 means a lot. Getting purification off could be really hard, and you can really combo this well now. This is quite something. Let's see, Oracle. Now this is a change where I don't know what the hell, but let's see. Because Oracle is in such a weird spot. Oracle Fortune Sand cast time reduced from 0.3 to 0. He can just cast it instantly now. But Fortune Sand's cast range increased from 650 to 850, so it's way longer now. But Fortune Sand radius increased from this to this. But the damage is rescaled to be 75 to this. The damage is way lower than it was before. And for this rescale from, it's rescaled to now it can be done way faster like this. I don't know where to put this, as he can spam it way faster than before, but it does a lot less damage. This is going to be very, very interesting. Fate Edict no longer amplifies incoming non-magical damage. That's a nerf. That's a very big nerf. Poor Oracle. Fate Edict now has normal purgeable rules. That makes sense. Purifying Flames cooldown reduced from 2.5 to 2.5 to 225. I actually, for once, don't know where to put this. This seems very strange. I know one of my friends plays a really good Oracle. That's why I'm saying this. You can now spam it way more, but it doesn't do as much damage, but it's a hold. But the range has been increased. But at the same time, Fate Edict no longer amplifies incoming non-magical damage. That's just weird. I actually think this is a nerf. I think this is a buff disguised as a nerf. I would have to watch him play it. This is one where I really don't know where to put it unless I see it. This could be insanely strong and make up for this, but this is pretty fucking crazy. Sorry for swearing. Because this made Oracle so freaking strong, because with the right lineup, you could really amplify a lot of damage. It's gonna come down to how strong this is, really. If it outweighs this, I don't think it does, but we'll see. The buff, nerf, question mark, that's a turnaround for Oracle. Outworld Devourer, strength gain increased from 185 to 2.3. That's good. He needed this. Sanity Eclipse now always removes 40% of effective hero's mana instead of 75 current mana only when under the threshold. This is actually really, really strong. This could be really good against certain heroes. Sanity Eclipse mana loss no longer increases spell immunity. Matches his damage behavior. They're basically just buffing it, but nerfing it there. Sanity Eclipse cast range from this to static 700. That's good, because OD already needed to be far away from stuff. Sanity Eclipse cast range is no longer increased with Aghanims. Nah, that's a sucker, but it's a small buff to OD. it's a very small buff to OD. I have a hard time imagining this is going to make him super viable because he still has the problem of playing like a hard carry mid. So, but it's a small buff. He's slightly more tanky. Hero needed it, but I don't think this is going to be enough for poor outhouse decorator. Phantom Assassin. Stifling Dagger now applies your attack on hit effects. Now, let me just tell you, before I started the video, I was like, I don't want to upset anyone by saying anything wrong, and I probably already have, so if you made it this far, good on you. And this one puzzled me for a while, like for a few minutes, but I think I get it. Stifling Dagger now applies your attack on hit effects. What I believe this means is that if you have an Orb of Venom, it's guaranteed to proc itself from a Stifling Dagger. And if you have an Abyssal or a Skull Basher, that also has a chance to applying to the dagger. So basically, by building orb effects, the dagger will always have a chance of proccing them. I'm pretty sure that's what it's what this is about. I'm like 99% sure. Very interesting. Weird buff, really, but it's a buff. I mean, it cannot not be, really. This cannot not be a buff. Blur no longer has a 0.75 second delay. That's fine. Blur's still good. Buff slightly. Phantom Lancer. Everyone told me he wouldn't get nerfed. Oh well, but here we are. Agility growth reduced from 3 to 2.6. Makes sense. He became too strong too quickly with agility. Double Ganger cast time increased from 0 to 0.1. Oh, this makes it harder to dodge stuff. But what really irks me is that this is a personal preference, and some of you might have this. Some heroes feel very unnatural when this happens, and Ursa has the same kind of thing where if you try to activate your overpower, where it just feels unnatural that your hero suddenly stops to make a spell. So it's a nerf to him. Both of them are, sure. This would make me playing Phantom Lancer is going to be way less fun now, just because it doesn't feel as fluid, just because of this. Phoenix Sunray may max health increased from this to this. Quite good. Also, health per second is half these values, of course, but increases all around, making Sunray slightly bigger. I still wouldn't max it early. Of course I wouldn't, but late game is not better than before. And this was already a good spell, so I actually think Phoenix was one of the hidden semi-god tiers of 6.84. Now I just think he's really good. Puck, illusion off speed increased from 500 to 650. Travel distance increased from 800 to 950 to keep the total duration of the orb is alive the same. Yep. Illusion orbs cooldown reduced with 1 second. That's good. Green coil cooldown reduced from 85 to 75. Now, I think Puck was really bad in 6.85, and she was really bad because every other mid hero was just better than her. With almost every other mid hero nerfed, it's hard to tell where she is, but these buffs are not like super significant the way I look at it. But it's gonna come down to how the other heroes perform, really. It's buffs to her. It's nice. I feel like Puck should be better than she is, but given how much Invoker got compared to Puck, it's a bit of a shame. Pudge. Oh, Pudge. Rod damage rescaled from this to this. Does slightly more damage late game. Does slightly less at level 1 and level 3. Sucks a bit. But Rod from this to this is actually kind of lethal. This is going to be very scary in a lane. I don't feel like this makes Pudge. It makes him slightly better, but it doesn't make him super viable in pub still. Because a lot of the kills that you don't get are usually people blinking or having some ability to get away quickly. So, I mean, this is good, but normally, for whatever reason, if you hook and you rot and you use your ultimate and you run after someone, at that point, they usually have some way of getting away or some way of stopping you, so that just doesn't work. It makes him slightly better in the early game, though. So this is not, it's still a buff, but I feel like they're afraid of buffing Push too much because he's the most played hero. Pakna, base movement speed from 320 to 330. 10 more movement speed, pretty good. Pugna is really fast. Nervos are now placed at attack location using 150 cast range ability. So basically, instead of you doing like the motion and putting up the ward over like before yourself, you can now choose where you want the ward. That's good. That's actually very good. It makes it way easier to do big plays with the ward because you won't have to face some odd direction before a team fight. Life drain damage deal per second is increased from this to this. Wait, what? Life damage. Wait. Sorry, that messes with my head. Lifetime damage deal per second increase from. That's not an increase, though. Oh, well, wait. Oh, sorry. It's so late at night. I'm so sorry. That is my bad. I swapped the two around. Stupid me. Okay, so level 1 is no different than 15 and then 30. Okay, that makes sense. It did confuse me because I thought they were saying increased when actually decreased. This felt weird as well. No, that's good. More buffs to Pukna. He's still in a little bit of an odd spot, but we'll see. Queen of Pain, Sonic Wave reduced from this to this. Magnum Scepter reduced from this to this. Still good, what can I say? I mean, it's a slight nerf to her, but she's still really strong. You can still pick her. She's still going to be really strong offlane. Matter of factly, she might just be way stronger in this patch because every other mid laner has been nerfed. So this is kind of deceptive. I still think she's god tier. I must agree. With all the other mid heroes nerfed, that does definitely makes Queen way better. Static Link now drains damage smoothly over its duration rather than every second. That is quite nice. That is quite nice. This can be quite a difference. I can see people want to play Dota, but I gotta finish this up first before we're ready. That's quite nice. Ricky permanent invisible health region increased from 4, 5, 6, 7 to 6, 8, 10, 12. This is insane. If you know Ricky, he already has I think his base armor 5 or 6. It's really high, and his health regeneration is also really high. Adding on to that every point now gives him 2 more, with this giving 4. Sorry, it's actually 2, 3, 4, 4, 5. Fuck, dude, that's high. This feels kind of unnecessary. I don't think this makes him super viable, but that is because you kind of need to go for your other abilities, but that's very high region. That's like a roaming flower girl all of a sudden. Interesting. Well, Sand King, causing penalty buff expire from expire damage increased from 30 to 50. Interesting. It's funny enough doesn't show the actual damage, so it makes the calculation hard to do. Penalty buff slows from 20 to 25. Slight buffs to Sand King. It's fine. He's still decent / good. He can still farm with his Darude Sandstorm and Forest. Shadow Demon, Shadow Poison cooldown reduced from 2.75 to 2.5. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I basically gave that more credit. That's nice, but I feel like Shadow Demon needs more of a buff like that than this. Oh well. Shadow Shaman, Shackles cooldown reduced from 16 to 10. That's quite good. 6 seconds less cooldown on Shackle that's really strong. And what's better is Shackle total damage from this to this. This is quite a damage increase at level 3 and 4. Holy cow. That's 100 more. That's 80 more. Very interesting. But this is primarily the one. It makes him way better as a kill hero. Shadow Shim is one of those heroes that instantly become better as soon as the meta changes around pushing as well, like we mentioned with Furion. Fixed last word, countdown debuff not being purgeable. There you go. A fix for Silencer, nothing else. Skyraz's concussive shot reduced from this to this, cooldown that is. Not too much. It's nice. It's just a minor buff. Mystic Thread no longer splits its damage over spell immune heroes. That is, that's actually really good. That's quite nice in the late game. You can actually play around that with the BKB in play. Slardar! Slardar, by the way, is one of the heroes I think are really good, and he's hidden god tier, but enough about that. He might be extremely good this patch though. Sprint now provides phased movement. This just means the same as phase boots. He can just sprint through stuff. This is actually really strong. Sprint cooldown reduced from 23 to 17. Sprint duration reduced from 16 to 12. That's fine. That's a buff, honestly. I'm quite fine with this because I felt like if they kept buffing him in other ways, he would become too strong. So basically they reduced the cooldown, but they made the duration less, but it's still a buff because he has it on sooner. Shrapnel delay reduced from 1.4 to 1.2. Doesn't matter. Sniper is still crap. I'm sorry. He won't hold up to other heroes. I doubt it. Desolate now works on non-hero units if they're alone. There you go. They didn't before. Dispersion now reflects damage before reductions and returns it as the same damage type, and rather than as a pure damage after reduction. They basically changed how dispersion reflects now. Reductions and returns of damage of the same type. It's hard to tell what's gonna do the most for me. I feel like this is a nerf, but without knowing the actual numbers, it's hard to determine, because it basically doesn't do pure damage anymore. That's the simple explanation behind it. It doesn't do pure damage after reduction. It now just reflects damage before reduction and then returns it at the same damage type. So it's probably a nerf, but Spectre still remains good. Regardless of how good Dispersion is, it's hardly enough to not make her viable. She still needs as much farm as before, though. Spirit Breaker. Greater Bash now uses pseudo-random chance. Hey, man. We were having such a good time with that 17% chance meme, weren't we? Well, what this means is that, for those of you that don't know, pseudo-random is a system that basically, it's an RNG system that progressively makes the chance of something proccing, it progressively makes it a bigger chance of happening. So the way you do it is that you compensate. So if something is 20%, or it says it's 20% chance, the actual number in the beginning is 15, and for every time it hits, it increases with like 1.5 chance. So this would be, instead of 17, it would probably be like 14. So it would be, he hits 14, 16, 17, 20. Not like that, but you get the idea. Every time he progressively hits something, he increases the chance that he'll hit the next time. So this is good. It just means that the chances of consistently bashing one after another is lower than before, but you could also technically abuse this to bash every time, but that's a more advanced thing. Storm Spirit. Static Remnant mana cost from this to this. Good. Remnant cost. Wow, English. It did not cost enough, so this is a nice change. Thank you. Static Remnant on the starter vision reduced. It's just slightly less reduced vision for the Remnant. And the big boner of the nerf. Ball Lightning base mana cost increased from 15 plus 7% to 30 plus 8%. On top of that, there's a bottle nerf. Spoiler alert. This is quite a big change. This is gonna make Storm a lot less crazy powerful. He's still going to be good in the right hands. I mean, look at Blitz. He's probably going to show you some sick moves, but it's a nerf, so it's good. Storm was way too powerful last patch. Base intelligence increased by 2 on Sven. That's nice. More intelligence is always nice for the big burly man. Great Cleaver damage increased by 20 to 30. Respectfully, this. It's a lot better in the beginning, but it's kind of like, meh. In the end, it just adds up to 1% more, so this is hardly a lot, but I already feel like Sven is strong, but he's kind of like in a null position. But it's a buff, but Sven is primarily the same hero. Now, here comes a hero that we all hate, and let's look at this, because this is where half of us will be in agreement and disagreement. Because I've spammed a lot of techies at one point. I really haven't, but I have. I've had like 20 games with him, 30 games with him. And I just got fed up with it, and I called one of the changes. But let's go over this, because this is one of the things where I might just be wrong, I might just be right. Let's go over it, okay? Very slowly. Techie mines are no longer triggered when destroyed. So basically, if someone destroys the mine, it won't explode. Makes sense. That's a good change, because that means if you are close to it, then if you're close to it, then you won't get damage, which was really stupid to begin with. Taking mines can now be destroyed using Quelling Blade and Blade Fury. This is what, I don't want to say I called it, but I said they really need to do something with this. And the reason why they need to do this is because the problem with techies is that he's a lot like Haas Guard, in the sense that if there's only magic damage heroes, you can't deal if there's only melee heroes. And you might be like, oh, what team will do that? But remember, this entire session of me talking has been really about pubs, and let me tell you, there is a good chance that pubs you can get 5 melee heroes. So this happening is a good change, and it's 450 range as well. Really good. Techie Maps now provide 10 gold for destroying them. Not a lot, but it can add up, so there is that. Landmines cooldown mana cost reduced by 50%. Now this is where I'm like, is this a nerf or is this a buff? Because let's be real and reasonable here. What is the problem with techies? Techies is way too strong in the laning phase. This has been said by so many, and I still maintain that. And now the cooldown and mana cost is reduced by half. Holy freaking cow and chicken. That is a lot. But to compensate for this, landmine damage is reduced by 50. It basically means he can't kill you as easily, but he can still really be good at, you know, keeping you at bay. He just does half the damage. This is more so he can't kill you in one blow. I do think this is a nerf, but wow, this is interesting. But again, like they have been nerfed by 50%. But again, to compensate for that, land names no longer have a maximum count. I don't really mind that as much. I mean, technically it's kind of insane because you could just place infinite amounts of them now. But at the same time, you basically have to place a double amount of mines that you had before. Again, of course, you can do it double as fast. That's what they've been going for. 50% faster. But it also requires more mana, so it basically makes him less good in the start. This is a nerf, I would say, and especially the fact that you can Quelling Blade and stuff now. But I still think the hero is actually strong. Landmines and Stasis Traps no longer block neutral clamps. Thank you. Landmines no longer stack exactly on top of each other. They can still be very close though. That's good, because this makes it easier to see when people neatly stack their mines. Now, without further ado, the hero I personally am well known for in this time and space, and the hero I predicted would be really good this patch, and let me tell you, temporarily removed from Captain's Mode. He is the only hero to have had that happen to him this patch. I think Terrorblade is gonna be broken as hell. So let's go over this. Reflection now affects all enemy heroes in a 900 area of effect. Will not affect units that are in fog who are invisible. This is insane. This is really good for team fighting. It makes him extremely terrifying to team fight against. It's no matter if his health is low, because we don't have as many bursters in the meta anymore. This is really terrifying. Although to compensate, reflection attack and move flow reduced from 60 to 25. Doesn't matter. Like, that is good. Don't get me wrong. That was really good, and it makes him a lot less good at chasing. But you're never gonna win a team fight, I don't feel. This is insane. Like, my mind is blown. It's all heroes. It's crazy in 900 area of effect, and it's been rescaled a little bit, so it has higher cooldown than before. But it's 900 area. It can be 5 heroes. And let's not forget. Let me remember my numbers now. Reflection is 40, 60, 80, 100. You basically follow me on this one, guys. Follow me on this one. For 5.5 seconds, if there's 5 heroes in a 900 area and you see all of them and none of them are in a fog of war position or invisible, you literally create the entire enemy team to fight one another with their own hero. Think about it. Let's say there's an anti-mage and I'm just making up a team here. It doesn't have to be a good team. It's just to get the idea. Let's say there's an anti-mage, a Quap, a PL, and a Juggernaut, and a Tide. These heroes will fight themselves for 5.5 seconds. You're literally creating an entire enemy team for 5.5 seconds. Of course, they can't use their active abilities, but you have to remember this. This ability doesn't only replicate 100% damage illusion. Passives work. So a PA would crit herself, a Phantom Lancer would spawn illusions on himself, an Anti-Mage would take his own mana, and all of these heroes have to fight one another. I'm speechless at this buff. It's way too much. This is insane. I mean, I thought this hero would get buffed, maybe with a bit of strength or something, but this is crazy. I'm speechless. It's so strong. This is so much out of left field by Valve. I did not expect this. Wow. Just really. Conjure image illusion unknown as illusion to enemies. That's actually a nerf to him. It means you can't outplay your enemies by spawning your illusions anymore, because they can see the illusions being just like Dark Show illusions. But I don't feel that it's a nerf given this. This is just insane. Conjure image cast point reduced from 0.5 to 0.15. So they basically also make the illusions spawn way faster. Well, the reason why this is good is because it was quite slow before. You can really rig out those illusions quickly now, especially if you're fleeing. Metamorphosis now emits a 900 range aura that affects his nearby illusions, causing them to match his current form. This is good, because let me tell you, as a Terrorblade player, what would happen is that you would push a tower, and you would not have Metamorphosis ready, and then you would not do an illusion, even though it's high value to do it, but you would wait for your form because it has only a few seconds left. So basically now you can start spamming your illusions and then just alt whenever, and they'll turn into illusions. So this is actually really good. Standard cast range from 325 to 550. Are you fucking real? Sorry for my big words, but he is such a good team fighter now. You just have to build strength on him. I hopefully predict this hero to be God tier. And if I'm wrong, so be it. But this just seems way too strong for me. Sunder minimum health increased from 20 to 25. Doesn't even matter. Just doesn't matter. This is just insanity right here. His illusions are not strong enough. Are still not strong, and I can't play him in that kind of like illusion way everyone hates. But this just more than makes up for it. It's insane. Gush armor reduction increased from 2, 3, 4, 5 to 3, 4, 5, 6. Not a big upgrade to type, but it's something. I still don't think he's going to be a good initiator compared to what's his name? Earthshaker. Timbersaw, Walling Death reduced from 8 to 6. It's nice, means you can spam it more. I actually think Timbersaw will be... actually, without spoiling too much, Bustone has been nerfed. He would have been better if that wouldn't have been the case. Oh well, he's still in an odd spot then. Rearm channel time from 3 to 1 to this. So lower rearm. Good Tinker players can really abuse this, and technically you can still rearm Bloodstone, so you can just deny yourself all the time. Top kicks. Tiny, base strength increased by 2, base intelligence increased by 3. Nothing big, but I already feel like Tiny was strong, so it's buffs regardless. Trend Protector, Leech Seed, from this to this, from 140 to this, so slightly less mana cost. He's still in an odd position as well, but a little bit less mana heavy in the start. Troll Warlord, favor attack speed from this to this. Actually, quite significant at level 1, but ultimately, he still remains a niche hero. They really don't want to buff him too much after 6.83, I don't think. But niche hero. Still works, I'd say, but niche hero. Tusk. Ice Shard mana cost from 90 to this. Just progressively making Ice Shards cost more like they used to. Snowball max launch time increased from 4 to 3. Reduced, sorry. This basically means that, you know how he could stay within his snowball for half an eternity? He can do that 1 second later. I still think that's too long. It should be 2.5, but whatever. It's a nerf. It's part of the way. Frozen Sigil no longer goes through spell immunity. Good. It shouldn't have in the first place. Magnum Scepter Volvo's kick now deals 200 damage. Doesn't matter. Doesn't make Magnum Scepter good on him. But I respect the effort. Magnum Scepter was really bad before, at least now it does damage. It still doesn't compensate though. Undying, Magnum Scepter no longer improves Flesh Golem. Previously, it increased damage amplification and heal. Magnum Scepter now increases decay strength steal from 4 to freaking 10. Oh! I have no idea how this is gonna work, because most Undyings normally go Greaves. But this could be kind of insane. 10 is a lot of strength. This feels unnecessary, but I mean, if you have BKBs and stuff, then whatever. But this is interesting. Tombstone Zombie's attack damage reduced from 41 to 35. Good. Tombstone now requires a constant number of attacks to be destroyed. 3, 4, 5, 7 from heroes, and 6, 8, 10, 14 from creeps. Soul Whip can now restore 1, 2, 3, 4 health to Hellstone. This is good. It's a nerf regardless, so it's way easier to deal with Tombstone now. Very, very good. But this is very, very, very strange to me. I have no idea, because going for an Aghanims is still, it's 4,200 gold. It's a lot of commitment to get that, but this could put, in a game if you're steamrolling, as I like to call it, and you're just wiping the enemy, this is insane. Oh well. Ursa, strength gain reduced from 2.9 to 2.7. That sucks. Only 0.2 though. Earthshock from 6 to 5, slight buff. Enrage first 5 multiplier reduced from this to this, and Enrage cooldown reduced from this to this. I'd say slight nerfs, honestly. It's not too much of a change, but Enrage has been buffed slightly. But usually, again, if you've used Enrage once in a team fight, you're either dead or you won. So this kind of doesn't matter. So basically, his first 5 multiplier is worse than before. He has lower strength. He can Earthshock 1 second earlier. Woohoo. I would call nerf. Vengeful Spirit. Agility gain increased from 2.8 to 3.3. That is really good. That's a lot of more damage from Vengeful Spirit. She just became better support. Base movement speed increased by 5. Good. Faster movement speed. She's now going to be more fun to play. Poison Sting damage on Venomancer increased by this to this. Not too much. A little bit more damage on Poison Sting. Poison Sting now works normally on illusions. There you go. Manta. Poison Nova damage per second reduced from this to this. Magnum Scepter increased from this to this. But the thing is that this has been changed to a 16 consistently. So basically at level, at max level, it's worse than before, but it's better early. Kind of weird changes to the hero. Hard for me to tell where he's going to be admittedly with these changes, but take it at heart. He's probably going to be in the same kind of spot he was in last meta, sorry. Viper, agility growth increased from 2.5 to 2.9. Corrosive Skin no longer pierces spell immunity. Nerf. Sorry, what am I saying? What am I saying? Sorry, I'm tired. Good buff to Viper. He's going to be more strong on lane now. This is kind of a bummer in late game, but Viper was never really meant to be a good late gamer, in my opinion. So I think this is a buff. But then again, as I said, I always felt like Corrosive Skin should not have, applied this. But also, that's my dog in the background. He just woke up. It was not me sneezing. Visage, Familiar Stone form area of effect increased by 15. Wait. Oh yeah, I can do math. Good. 15, slightly bigger. It's a buff. I mean, this is at least not enough to Visage. Golem can no longer be destroyed by Purge. This is really good. It makes the Futile Blade a lot less good against Warlock. That buff to him. Weaver, the Swarm mana cost rescaled from 100 to this. Doesn't matter. Swarm is still a crap spell, honestly. I'm sorry. The Swarm cooldown reduced from this to this. Doesn't matter. You only need Swarm at level 1. I can't believe that they keep buffing this. I feel like this is Terrorblade all over again, and they just keep buffing Weaver the wrong way, and eventually, next patch, Weaver's just going to become insane. He's kind of a niche hero. I think he's decent, but this is kind of odd. Winter's Curse no longer affects special spell immune enemies in the area, but still affects the primary target. Basically means you can still target someone with spell immunity and he becomes frozen, but heroes that do have a BKB besides that will not get affected. That's a good change. She's still strong regardless. That's the only thing that was changed. Witch Doctor, Death Ward damage increased from this to this. Scepter now deals the same damage. Death Ward no longer bounces once at level 3. Still bounces 4 times with Scepter. So, slight buff and slight nerf at the same time, but you go Aghanims anyway, usually. Now, this one is weird. Wraith King base damage increased by 7. Why? Why? That's a lot. I don't feel like Wraith King needed this. I actually feel like Wraith King might literally become really, really strong because of this. And he was already decent. This is really, really strong. 7 base, that's a lot. That's a lot. Empiric Aura does not show the healing effect if Wraith King is in the Fog of War. That's actually quite convenient. Reincarnation Magnum Scepter ally death delayed from 5 to 7 and now remains active during Reincarnation. Reincarnation was already always weird on this hero, so I wouldn't recommend it. But this is like uncalled for. So expect to see more Wraith King, honestly. Okay, let's go to items. Not a lot here. We're almost done, boys. Sorry for the long video. It's going to be close to 130, 140. The following target units items are now like Bottle, Self-Cast by default, and Target Cast with Control. Basically means if you just tab him, Clarity Potion, Mango, and Healing will just go off, and you have to do it like you do with Bottle, where if you want to use Bottle on someone. This is a very weird change, and I don't agree with it. I think it's very weird, but Valve, give it for what it is. If you like this, that's good. If you don't, I'm sorry, but get used to it. Expect people to mess this up. Aegis now provides a temporary ground to the enemy while you're dead. That's good. It makes it easier if you're pushing uphill to kind of seize what's going to happen. That's quite a good buff to Aegis. Bloodstone, respawn time reduction reduced from 4 per charge to 3 per charge. Bloodstone no longer reduces gold lost on death. And Bloodstone no longer grants vision experience when its owner is dead. Its owner died. Jesus, I'm starting to fumble. Good. Bloodstone was already good, so these changes are all good. This is good, this is good, this is just all good. Especially because the heroes that already were way too good were benefiting way too much from it. So hopefully we will not see as much Bloodstone and more Orchid now, which is cool. Bottle, health mana restored from 135.70 to 110.70, so less health from Bottle, meaning that mid players will have a harder time. Crimson Guard, recipe cost from 825 to 600. Good if you want to build Crimson Guard. That's decent. Diffuse Blade, purge cooldown reduced from 8 to 0. This is actually insane with a hero that uses Diffusal Blade. If you're really, really good, and there's 3 heroes fleeing, you can go wop 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 and slow all of them down. You can do some really good plays with this, but you can use your charges up really fast as well. This is buff no matter how you look at it. I don't really know why they did this, but yeah, Diffusal Blade was buffed. It's still a really good item. It's now way easier for you to quickly use charges, at least if you want to, in a team fight and upgrade it. Drums of Endurance, active buff increased from 20 to 25, bonus attack speed. Good. Slightly better. Cooldown from Dust of Parents reduced by 30. Good. Also good. I felt like it was too high, so Dust just became more value. Enchanted Mago, cost reduced by 25. Good. Cast range from 250 to 400. That's really good. Means you can, as a support, if you want to give your carry mana, you can do it from way further away than before. So it's kind of cool. Ether Blast cooldown reduced from 30 to 20. Ethereal Blade is still in a kind of weird state for heroes like Morphling and heroes that use it. I still don't see this making the item too much viable of a pickup. You'll Scepter Divinity, Recyclone cast range reduced from 700 to 575. Good, it was far too big. I still feel like they need to change the fact that it does damage when you actually get lowered, so much so that you can't blink. I know that's the point behind it, but it still gives you too much. You're probably still going to see a lot of You'll Scepter of Divinity if you ask me, but it's a start. At least the range is not as abnormal as it was before. Guardian Grease buffed by Mend being 5 seconds. I almost turned to Danish there. Less of cooldown. Interesting that they buff it, but it just makes Grease better, really. Glimmer Cape. Glimmer Fate time increased from 0.4 to 0.6. Still good. Glimmer buff is now purgeable. That's good. That should always have been a thing. That makes immediately Diffusal Blade a lot better. Glimmer buff magic resistance from 55 to 45. Still really good. Glimmer buff cast range reduced by 100. From 900 to 800. Glimmer buff mana cost reduced from 130 to 100. That actually just makes it better. Glimmer visual effect on initial cast is now more obvious. Okay. Now Glimmer Cape is still an item that's way too strong, and I actually feel like this might actually be even better. I mean, overall it's been nerfed quite a bit, but at the same time, the item gives too much for what it is. So expect to see this every game still. 6.86. This item will be nerfed again. Heart of Zerath, health restored per second from 3.25 to 4%. This is kind of crazy if you go for health. So that's basically 0.75% higher health restored per second with a Heart of Zerath now. Really strong. Heaven's Halberd can now be disassembled. Interesting. That basically means that you could, let's put up a hypothetical, you could quickly go Sange into Heaven's Halberd and then be like, but I actually want a what do you call it? A butterfly, and thus you disassemble it, and you have the Talisman of Evasion. You make that into a butterfly, and then you could technically do Sanjasha. But this is interesting. I always am in favor when items can be disassembled, because disassembling items means that you can have more fluid item build. So this is kind of cool. I enjoy it. That's really cool, and it's a good item. I actually feel like Heaven's Halberd is underrated in most pop games. The Dominator now sets the Dominated unit health of the unit to minimum of 1,400. Dominated unit's base health is higher than the minimum. Its health will not be changed. Slight buff to the health of the Dominator. Hem of the Will reduced by 50. Still really good. Makes build off of certain items such as Veil of Discord or Armlet faster. Lotus Orb Echo Shell mana cost from 100 to 75. This is actually really, really good. Echo Shell cooldown from 17 to 15. Slight buff to Lotus Orb. Felt it was necessary. Manta Style Mirror Image range melee cooldown reduced from 50-35 to 45-30. So, wait a moment. I don't know why I hold it there. Wait. So they made... Interesting. Okay, so, you can just spawn faster now, so Terrorblade just became even better. Mirror Range mana cost is now lower as well. There you go. Mantis just became a lot better to rush on the hero. Jesus, that's interesting that they will buff that. So basically you can throw it out 5 seconds faster on both heroes. Okay, that's really good. What can I say? That's a buff. Medallion of Courage can no longer target spell immune enemies. Good. that was always weird. An item that costs less than 1,500 and you can basically just target spell immune enemies. Reduces armor values by half against Roshan. Good. It was way too strong for that. Solar Quest evasion change was 5%. Solar Quest needed that. It was way too much value and it's still high value. Can no longer target spell immune enemies. Just the same as Medallion of Courage. Good. It was never meant to for this low cost. Deuces on Roshan is meant by half. It's still good to have, but it's not as hyper as it used to be. Solar Quest and Medallion was just free Roshan. Mjolnir Chain Lightning targets count increased from 8 to 12. Freaking PogChamp in this. Just basically more chains. Quite interesting. Moonshard no longer requires a recipe. That basically what was... I should know this. It's either 300 or 400. I think it's actually a 300 recipe. Basically 300 lower gold. That's something. It's a buff to Moonshard. Necronomicon, Warriors and Archer health increased from this to this. Slightly more health on them. That's good. Octavine Core has only been changed with Grief. The stack limit was really fixed to 2045 rather than a cooldown. Okay. So the interaction has been fixed. That's quite good. 5 of Insight Aura now works on the Courier. I don't know. Okay, it works on the Courier now. Face Boots. Duration decrease from 3.6 to 2.5 seconds. Phase bonus speed now increased 16 to 24 for melee and 20 for range. So basically they give you more speed but for a shorter amount of time. This can actually be really utilized. And power threats were nerfed by 5 attack speed. They obviously want to go hint, wink, get face boosts a lot more now. Quelling Blade, jump cooldown reduced from 5 to 4. Same for Battle Fury. That's actually quite good, and it nerfs techies as we talked earlier about. Radiance recipe cost reduced from 1,425 to 130.50. A bit less of a recipe price. Radiance is still really strong, so really good. Cooldown reduced from 35 to 30. Scythe just got better. This is, we're almost at an end, guys. This is one of those that you have to kind of play the game and play around. You're not going to know this until you just played enough, because TP keeps costing less. I like this. 100 to 75, so 25 less. I mean, you can now way more often use Terrible Scrolls. It also technically devalues TP boots a bit more, but still, that's a very low price now. Ring of Health reduced from 875 to 850. Same for Voidstone, so just a little bit less cash. And recipe cost reduced from 1,100 to 900 on the Wheel of Discord. So that kind of concludes the patch. Very long video. I'm just going to quickly scroll over here and go up to this fine image up here again. I'm going in at 1 hour and 23 minutes, it seems. Way longer than I thought it would be, but I wanted to make a thorough read of this. If you like what you saw, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you could tolerate my voice and my slip-ups for that long. If I said something wrong, and by that I mean I fundamentally, not mispronounced, but I just said something that wasn't right, sorry about it. It's very late at night, but I kind of wanted to get a video out there. So it is what it is. I hope you guys like this patch, and by all means, I hope you have a nice and safe travel into 6.85, and I hope by God that you have a good time with it as well, because it's cool to get MMR and stuff, but at its core we are also meant to have fun with Dota, and I hope all of you guys will be able to do that with this patch. So a lot of changes. It's hard to read the meta, but all the heroes that all of you already hated have been nerfed, so let's bring new heroes to the table that everyone are gonna hate within a few months, shall we? This is Kyubashi. Thanks for watching my quick look at 6.85. I hope you liked it. So have a good one, guys. I am gonna play some games. I think I really want to test this out. So best of luck to you out there, and I hope this was useful. See you guys soon, and thanks for watching.